The iPhone 13 for 2021 might actually be the best mid-range iPhone available right now. Recently, a report showed that the iPhone 13 was the 5th most sold phone globally. And here's the reason why. It hits all the essentials at a high level. Let me explain. Let's start with performance. The iPhone 13 is equipped with the A15 Bionic chip and is actually still one of the top 10 most fastest CPUs available in any smartphones, which is incredible to hear since it's a phone for 2021. The iPhone 13 blasts through any task that you set on it, and the A15 Bionic chip can pretty much do anything that you need it to do. Whether it's multitasking, heavy usage, and especially with gaming, the iPhone 13 can handle it all. So to put the iPhone 13 to the test, I ran some of the most popular and most intensive games on the iPhone 13. Starting with Genshin Impact, the iPhone 13 was able to run as smoothly as 60 frames per second with high graphics on. When we turn to S4 9, which is a pretty easy game to run, the iPhone 13 had no problem running it at 60 frames per second. Switching to Call of Duty, this was also no issue for the iPhone 13, running at high graphics at 60 frames per second. And finally, I tested it with Mobile Legends, which also ran ultra smooth with the iPhone 13 at 60 frames per second with high graphics. The A15 chip is surprisingly capable at this age, and with no lag, stutters, or dropped frames, the iPhone 13 runs smoothly with pretty much any application or anything that you want to do on it. It's perfect for gaming and for multitasking, and even though it only has 4GB of RAM, it actually handles everything really well. Even comparing it to my iPhone 15 Pro, which has the latest A17 Pro chip, it honestly doesn't feel too different when I go to the iPhone 13. In terms of performance, it feels pretty much on par with each other. Really shows how powerful the A15 Bionic chip is, and really shows the longevity of the iPhone 13. Though it is worth mentioning that 4GB of RAM might not be enough in the next 2 years, but the raw power of the A15 is definitely going to last you a few more years, especially when it uses the same chip that's available on the iPhone 14, which also makes me believe that the iPhone 13 will get another year of a major operating system update because it uses the same chip as the iPhone 14. More on that later. Now let's talk about the next most essential part of any smartphone today. That is the cameras. The iPhone 13 is equipped with a dual 12MP camera setup with 12MP wide and a 12MP ultra wide lens. Starting with the wide lens, it looks really impressive in pretty much any lighting condition that you throw at it. It's capable with great lighting and in dark lighting as well. In terms of colors and dynamic range, the iPhone 13 does a great job of being able to capture all of those highlights and all of those shadows. And it's still a pretty comparable sensor to the first of these days. When we turn to the ultra wide sensor, it's just as impressive, but it does suffer a little bit when it comes to low light. What's missing is a telephoto lens and a higher resolution. With most phones being able to shoot with more than 12MP, the iPhone 13 does lack a bit of that resolution, but it still makes up for it with its great colors, dynamic range, and its focusing capabilities that allow you to take quick shots at any moment. Videos look great, and with in-body image stabilization, videos and photos taken on the iPhone 13 look super steady, and you're gonna hit that shot more often than not. Previously, in-body image stabilization was a feature only on the 12 Pro Max, but on the 13, it is now available on the main sensor. The iPhone 13 is also the first iPhone to have cinematic mode, which allows you to get that shallow depth of field effect when you're shooting your videos. Overall, the iPhone 13's cameras are great and looks good in pretty much any situation and lighting condition. Although it's missing a telephoto lens and it doesn't have the highest resolution, if those two things aren't a concern for you, which for most people who aren't going to be zooming or going to be blowing up these photos onto a big billboard, the iPhone 13's cameras are perfectly capable for most people and look great for pretty much any situation. Turning to the design of the iPhone 13, we have a pretty thin, comfortable shape, and with a flat screen with minimal bezels, the iPhone 13 still looks pretty modern today. We do still have that notch at the front of the screen, which you could say looks a bit intrusive in most of your content, but other than that, we do have the ceramic shield that helps you protect your phone when you drop it, a flat and modern simplistic look around the whole phone, and a glass back with wireless charging. It still looks great in today's day, but it also is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. Overall, I still really like the iPhone 13's design, And with the color choices available on the iPhone 13, I think it's still one of the best color options that Apple ever put out on an iPhone. Heading to the display of the iPhone 13, it's equipped with a 6.1-inch OLED display. It's still 60Hz though, so you're not going to get a high refresh rate, up to 1200 nits of brightness, 2 million to 1 contrast ratio, and a vibrant, color-accurate, high-resolution display. The pixel density is great, especially at this size, but my one gripe with the iPhone 13 is it's a bit hard to see in direct sunlight. Overall, it's a great display, perfect for gaming, especially with those flat edges, and for watching content with the color-accurate display. I do wish the iPhone 13's display was a bit more brighter and it had a higher refresh rate, but then again, those features were exclusive to the iPhone 13 Pro. Okay, now let's talk about battery performance, which is the next most essential part of any smartphone experience. And with the iPhone 13, I can say that it has solid performance. I took out the iPhone 13 with me on a day in the life, and we ended with 15% at the end of the day with 4 hours of usage. I hope that 30% was used up by a hotspot that was running. Considering I was using the phone pretty heavily while running the hotspot at the same time, I actually consider the iPhone 13 to have really good battery life. If we were to take out the amount of battery lost from hotspotting, we would have 45% at the end of the day with 4 hours of usage, which is actually really impressive performance for a battery. Overall, the iPhone 13's battery performs really well for medium to heavy users. It definitely lasts you more than all day. However, if you are a really heavy user, you may want to opt for the Pro Max. My day in the life usage included doing a bit of gaming, social media such as YouTube and Instagram, sharing, posting, and using a bit of Google Maps. With all of that considered, I do think the iPhone 13's battery is actually really impressive. Now let's talk about software support on the iPhone 13. The iPhone 13 actually uses the same A15 Bionic chip found in the iPhone 14 from 2022. Typically, Apple always makes sure that their devices get at least 5 years of software support and a few more security updates after that. And depending on the chipset, a particular device might get more support. For example, the iPhone 6s, which was released in 2015, was actually supported until iOS 15, which was released in 2021, giving it 6 years of major operating software updates. Released in 2021, the iPhone 13 will be expected to get major operating system upgrades until 2027, which would be iOS 21. Now let's move on to pricing. The iPhone 13 can be found at $599 on Apple's website, but most of the time you'll be able to find some carrier deals or promotions, seeing the iPhone 13 go as low as $499 brand new, or you could also take a look at the used marketplace where you could probably get it even lower. At any of these prices, and especially if you can get a good promotion on the iPhone 13, I think it's still great value regardless of what you choose. So who should buy the iPhone 13? The iPhone 13 is the perfect device for anyone who just needs to get the essentials nailed: performance, battery, and cameras. The iPhone 13 is a solid device, but it's nothing fancy, but it hits all the right points that any normal user would need. It has great performance and great gaming capabilities. Finally, to round it all off, it has solid performing battery life. If you do want a better display with a 120Hz refresh rate, or if you need a telephoto lens, you might want to consider the Pro version of the iPhone 13. Overall, the iPhone 13 provides all the essential smartphone features that people need at a high level and at a price that provides good value. I'm Upwards, and if you made it this far in this video, consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.